Okay, I got my timer on. I'm ready to go finish these last two questions. I want to finish these last two questions. I had to cut off quickly there. But I'm back to finish the last two on emotional infidelity and affairs. I got on quite a run on the last one. So you'll want to check out the first question after it's done process, or, after we're done here. But I really wanted to explore these other two that I had. So we're ready to rock. I'm back. I know that was a quick break, but I'm back. Okay. So, hi, Mark. Hi, Mark. My husband and I have been involved in a previous entanglement where he was inappropriately messaging other women while I was pregnant with our first child. Learning about this was devastating to me. He told me names of the people he was involved with, and it turns out that she works at a store he frequently visited. He needed to go to the store once for work, and I went with him. Said hi. She said hi to him and completely ignored me. He didn't introduce me and made small talk with her while I stood waiting. I was extremely bothered and hurt. He visits that store when he needs to, but it bothers me every time. I do tell him how it makes me feel, but he says that I'm creating problems for no reason. My question is, am I wrong in being upset and hurt by his actions in this situation? Oh my gosh, no, you are not. And 100%, you're just creating problems where for no reason is total gaslighting. Look, I don't normally be like, hey, here's what you need to do. Here's how it works. You're being totally invalidated by this. And what we need to do is draw a circle around what behaviors we're going to allow. Like if someone has an emotional affair via texting or something like that, or physical, but we're talking in this context, emotional. You must say, these are the behaviors that are okay with me, and these are the ones that are not. And if you do those things, we are done. And when someone says you're creating problems where they're not, it's like, how can you not understand that the person you had infidelity with, by communicating or going to the store where that person works, is not like, how can you not understand that that is hurting me? Like for someone to not be able to get that and still do that, like consciously still inflict hurt upon someone, knowing that the behavior is painful for the person they're in relationship with. What this tells me is, one, he doesn't respect himself. Two, he doesn't respect you or the relationship. That was true with the emotional infidelity, but people can repair from that. People can get back from that, but they must build trust again. And you're not going to do it by doing the same shit you were doing. He's still getting to do these things because we're still allowing it, right? Like people get to do that stuff because we still allow it. So we reclaim ourselves and repair the hurt for ourselves when we say no more. And when they do that stuff and we actually stand in the no more, and we actually stand there firm in the truth of the bar of how we wish to be treated, when we do that, we build self-worth. We become bulletproof. And what we say is, I've got my own back. Every time you say, this is the standard to which I want to be treated, every time you settle for less than that, you feel like you're worthy of less than that. Every time you hold that bar, shit, you start to build up this giant sense of self-worth that says, I've always got me. Your behavior is not going to determine how I feel about me. That's on you. My behavior determines how I feel about me. So I'm saying no more to this. Holy shit, I love myself. Do you notice that boundary that you create or the standards that you hold are actually what preserve your wholeness? I talk about that in my boundaries courses, like how the circle, you are already whole, and boundaries preserve wholeness. When you allow something within that's not okay, a thought, feeling, behavior, whatever it is, circumstances, you give away part of yourself. And we have to think about it that significantly. I've given away a part of myself to be in this relationship. Well, the relationship should not ever demand the loss of who you are or the giving away of part of yourself. It should actually contribute to your expansion. And it's doing that by saying, are you willing to expand and lay a boundary and a standard and a just demand for respect? Because we can't respect ourselves if we're settling for behavior that says, I'm disrespected, right? Like if I'm being disrespected and I stay within that circumstances, if I stay within those circumstances, I feel like someone who is worthy of disrespect. That's why boundaries are so powerful. That's why standards are so powerful. I ask people all the time, like, what is the price of admission to be in your life? The price of admission to be in your life, like, what are the values someone has to hold, all those things. And you might think, well, if I stand in those, I'll be more lonely. No, you won't. You'll be whole. You'll see that how you feel about you doesn't determine of whether you're in a relationship, because you know that you only enter a relationship where there is no self-abandonment. You only enter a relationship where there is still belonging within yourself. Like whenever you have to leave yourself to be in any community, family, relationship, it is under and you have to give away a part of you. It is under the contract that you give away a part of you to be part of the belonging. So it's not true belonging. It's belonging at the cost of self, at the cost of voice, at the cost of power, as opposed to like two healthy people in relationship don't give up power if someone else becomes more powerful. They don't lose respect by demanding more respect, right? Like it just keeps protecting the sacredness of the relationship and preserving the container of the relationship. I was talking to someone the other day who said, hey, if I say that though, if I bring this forward in my relationship, it might break it up. And I'm like, good, because the relationship is only okay or contractually okay if you don't bring forward things that matter to you. Why would we want to be in a relationship where we can't bring forward things that matter to us? That's not a relationship I want to be part of. You might want to be part of that. I don't want to. And I'm not here to teach relationships that are about that type of submission or that type of repression or that type of silencing. I'm not here for that. Someone else can be here for that. That's a different relational teacher. It's a different teacher. I'm not your teacher. I don't ever want to be in a relationship that requires me not telling you the truth, right? Because it would be the exact same thing. And I wouldn't be living in integrity with what matters to me. And discovering that you've been silent, discovering that you haven't set a standard, discovering that you've lacked boundaries is painful, because you recognize all the moments you didn't have the boundary, all the moments you didn't have what your new knowledge. But you got to stand up into the new knowledge. You have to implement it. It has to be implemented in your life so that your life can change and you can grow, right? Like you just keep expanding and your life keeps becoming a reflection of your expansion. And when you expand and you tell your partner, this is what I need, or this is the truth of how I feel, the relationship then gets to expand too. And your partner's invited to expand. They're invited to connect to the truth. And shit, if they don't want to, that's okay. But are you willing to stand in the foundation that only the truth provides? Because it's the only place you can stand on solid ground is where the truth is present. Otherwise, you're standing on a shaky foundation that's based on contracts that you're going to wear a mask, that you're going to be someone you're not. And hey, like when we've been in relationships and in jobs and in families and in workplaces that are based on us not being people, not being who we actually are, when we become who we are, we lose those places, but we gain ourselves, and then we start to attract and become parts of communities that say, we love more of you. We love more of you. Who doesn't want to be in a relationship with someone who says, I love more of you? Bring the heat, but that's only someone who values it themselves. That's why, like, when one person wants to individuate in a relationship and it was formerly a codependent relationship, the other person often gets terrified and tries to cling tighter because they're afraid they're going to grow away from them, because the hook was the codependency. The relationship had certainty because both people sold out who they were to be in the relationship. They, gave up things that really mattered to them to be in the relationship. They pretended to love things that they didn't love to be in the relationship. And when one person says, I'm no longer willing to do those things, the relationship is invited to change. It has to. And so does the other partner, but often they cling tighter, and that causes the breaking of the relationship anyways, because that doesn't work. When someone wants to be free and be in love, you can't stay in a prison that most relationships often are. So there's that. Okay. Next question. The guy I had an affair with got married and had a kid. He keeps contacting me for sex excitement, and I'm not sure why, if he is happy. I really am infatuated with him and can't seem to resist when he reaches out. I'm also married and happy, but slightly unfulfilled sexually. Advice would be great on how to unpack this. Well, let's talk about an unpacking. The first one is that, often we source excitement outside of our relationship. Like, you use the words, I'm married and happy, but slightly unfulfilled sexually. How could you create the same mysterious dynamic within your relationship? Esther Perel talks about that love wants closeness and safety and all the things, and lust and infatuation wants distance and mystery and all the things, right? And it's like, what often happens in relationship is people are happy, quote unquote, and they're close, but they are enmeshed. They have lost their own identities within the relationship. So when you get swallowed up by a relationship, you're no longer want to bang the person who you're in relationship with because you lost your identity with them. There's no space between you and them, and space between you and another person is what creates attraction. So instead of actually creating within a relationship and learning how, we learn how to eroticize that self-abandonment, that pain of staying in relationships that we want more from, our own self-abandonment, our own lack of identity. We go and eroticize that pain and we find it somewhere else. Instead of changing the circumstances we're in, we go and get arousal where the pain exists. And so we seek that excitement outside of ourselves. We seek it, not doing the actual internal work to actually process, why can't I learn how to create that desire within this? Like, why can't, and I remember Esther Perel saying in one of her TED Talks it used to be called Why Happy Couples Cheat. And now I think it's called something else, something about infidelity. It's based on her book. Anyways, in it, she says, if people put the same effort into their relationships as they do into their infidelity, they would never have to see her, or they never have to see a psychologist or a marriage counselor. And I think that's really important perspective to take a look at. Is like, because we've been taught these constructs of relationship, that relationship means self-abandonment, and also you can't leave them or change them. You're just destined to this. We don't believe that we're actually in choice within the relationship to be all of ourselves. So we go try to be all of ourselves or be witnessed outside of the relationship, not recognizing that that's only ever going to be a Band-Aid. It will never actually be the true reclamation that we need, which is, I can do this on my own. I don't need someone else to validate it or see my spark or my mystery, And if you want to live in the integrity of who you are, then how do you build a sacred relationship where you actually have infidelity? And I've done a few talks on this about, if you are someone's other, you're the one they're cheating with, you're in a relationship with someone who can, in the current circumstances, because people always go, well, in the future, they're going to. No, you don't know that. That doesn't exist. What you know is that you're with someone who can never fully choose you. So are you worthy of never being fully chosen? Because that's ultimately what we have to believe about ourselves to be in relationship with people who are in relationships. If we are their other, if they're having an affair with us, there's a belief that we're not worthy of being fully chosen. And so our circumstances reinforce that. And so this is an invitation to say, like, why do I choose unavailability? And also there's this sort of limit to vulnerability. I can be as vulnerable as I want. I'll open my heart so much. I'm infatuated, the electricity, because there's not a full amount of risk. There isn't. There's risk of being caught and risk of blowing up your life. Sure. And that can be arousing too. That's exciting. But it's like, when did we lose the opportunity to find excitement in choice, excitement in being chosen, excitement in safety, and safety that's not about enmeshment or codependency, because that kills desire, but safety that's about, I have a voice, I value, I stand in the truth of what I value, I live in line with my integrity, I have great boundaries. Boundaries are the sexiest thing on the planet. They are sexy AF. People love boundaries. As soon as you're dating someone and you did something, like you didn't call them back when you said you were going to, or you canceled plans and it was a bit of a disrespectful move, or you're in a relationship and your partner, you let a line slip that wasn't okay, or you didn't honor your word, and they're like, yo, this is what I need from you. That behavior was not okay. We're like, what? Yeah. I'm in now, right? Like we love that, because that says I have self-worth and you can trust me, that I won't collapse when you challenge me. I won't collapse when your behavior is not actually up to the standard of your integrity and your values. This is what I value. And if you're not willing to live in those values, cool, but this isn't for me. I hold a standard in my life. Notice how sexy that is. That's what we want, but we're so afraid of it occurring. We're so afraid of someone actually showing up for us because we have to believe we're worthy of it. And so when we choose unavailable people, there is a belief that we are unworthy of being chosen. And in this circumstance, I'm really infatuated with this guy and I can't seem to resist when he reaches out. It's a drug. And you got to learn how to not get your needs met outside of you and outside of your relationship, that you meet them. Sounds like there's a bit of, you're slightly unfulfilled sexually. There's a bit of sexual repression of self that you're not getting met within the relationship. And it's just an open dialogue to that. The person outside of the relationship is evidence of the relational challenges, the relational dysfunction. We focus on the why, the thing. It's or like this person did this, this, and this, or this is happening. It's like, what are the circumstances in the relationship that create outcomes like that, that create circumstances like that? And that we can both personally look within ourselves. What is my responsibility in this? And then what is the collective relationship responsibility? Most people say, my relationship is not giving me this. Instead of asking, what does my relationship need from me to be this type of container, to feel this way? And, just because, in this question, the guy I had an affair with, got married and had a kid. He keeps contacting me. I'm not sure why, if he's happy. Who knows if he's happy? And none of that matters because he's just getting his needs met. We become other people's, and people are for us. They become our emotional prostitutes. They become our physical, a place where we masturbate. And we got to think, it always comes back to, what values do you want to live with? What life do you want to live? And then you choose your way towards that. Listen, love is not simple. It's not easy. Whoever taught that is full of shit. It's filled with challenges, and it's filled with mirrors holding up what we need to be better at. But you will never find a greater gateway to your evolution than relationship. What do I need to work on? What am I not good at? All of these things are invitations. And gosh, we don't like them, because they show us that we might not be the best person that we thought we could be. We might not be showing up the way we thought we could. And then what an invitation that is. Much love, y'all.